If you've got someone special you want to treat this Valentine's Day, Interflora Australia has you covered. Whether it's your partner or best friend who deserves some spoiling, head to interflora.com.au. You can also head to our Instagram page or my personal feed for your chance to win a bouquet for you or your special someone. Always Interflora. Welcome back to It's All Her, the podcast. I'm your host, Geordie Lucas. I'm the founder and editor of It's All Her. I was an actress in a previous life and I'm a mum to a toddler. I've got a lot going on and I have a passion for helping women live simpler, better lives. For the latest in lifestyle and entertainment news, head to itsallher.com. Welcome to a bonus episode of It's All Her, our second episode of the week. Today I am chatting with ex-Olympic swimmer Stephanie Rice. We had a really candid chat about the struggles she faced mentally after retiring at just 24 and how she's rediscovered herself since. Steph was so honest about the loss of identity she felt after retiring, and I really loved hearing about how she immersed herself into self-development to find her new career path. That loss of identity is something I think a lot of us will be able to relate to. I know I certainly had a huge identity crisis when I stepped away from acting and as I transitioned into motherhood too. So I think all of us will be able to get something from this chat. Here is my conversation with the wonderful Stephanie Rice. Stephanie Rice, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast this week. I'm so excited to have a chat. We're going to talk about a little announcement that you have later on, but how has the year started for you?
Yeah, it's been an awesome start to the year. I decided I am ready for big change and big accomplishment. I just feel like the past couple of years, definitely with COVID in particular, and how much it had affected my overseas work, and just like missing that travel and freedom and aliveness that I would feel. And I just, when all of that work stopped, I just didn't really know how to replace the work.
Yeah.
I feel like so many people were just like doing stuff to do stuff. And I just kind of took the time off, which was really nice, but it was just boring. I just felt mentally bored, and I didn't really need to get up early or, have routines and rituals in the day. It took me 2 hours to do my office work. So I thought, well, I'll just sleep until 9 and go to sleep at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And then I just got in this really bad cycle. And at the start of this year, through that New Year's period, I really just wanted to set some goals and really get clear on the new habits I would need to implement in order to have this time to be more productive and more efficient. And so I've really loved this new kind of routines that I've set for myself this year.
Yeah, that's amazing. Let's take it right back before we talk about sort of what you're doing this year. I want to hear about your life when you were younger as a young swimmer. When did you start swimming, and then when did you sort of realize, okay, I can take this seriously, I could potentially make it, quote unquote, make it?
I was a baby, like most people, doing learn to swim and, all of the little junior dolphin whale groups and tortoises and everything, and just loved it. Loved being in the water, loved playing in the bath, hours on end in the bath, just playing games in my own mind. I just loved it. And, we had thankfully a backyard pool at our house. And so on the weekends, Mum would be like, Steph, you've been in the pool for 7 hours. Your hands must be wrinkly. And I was like, but I'm just having so much fun. And I think because I didn't really have a lot of friends when I was younger, I was a really, really shy kid. I just felt really misunderstood. I wasn't therefore included in many things because I was so shy. So people didn't really get to know me. And so I just felt really safe in a pool. It was just I could just be myself and didn't need to worry about what other people thought of you or other, just all that little primary school kind of stuff. And I just felt like the pool was my place. And So I think I naturally, you know, progressed through swimming because I had such a big passion for it. And I think whenever you're passionate, you stay consistent and want to go. And mum would threaten to like not take me to swimming training if I didn't like do my homework or make my bed. And so she knew it was like the draw card for me to do stuff because I loved going so much. And then she realized like, but it's so good for me to be able to have this outlet and be healthy and everything. So I would say I kind of, you know, did that junior squad, you know, Friday night club nights with sausage rolls and, you know, killer pythons. Like just loved all of that until I was probably like 10, 11. And I then needed to move to like a bit of a bigger squad than the one I was at because it was very much like a junior level program. And so I'd like outgrown that location and coaching ability. And so then I moved to like a slightly bigger squad. And then that same thing kind of happened again when I was about 13. And that was when things really became more serious for me, was that 13 to 14 year period. So, age nationals for swimming is like one of the really big competitions of the year as an age group, or like it is the big competition of the year. And 13 is the like youngest age group. So like 13 and just 13 to like 14 kind of thing. And it was in Sydney. So my mum was like, well, I'm not taking you all the way to Sydney for just a club relay, like paying for accommodation and all of this stuff. Like you have to qualify for like an individual race. And I was like, I am going to this thing. So I trained so hard for the next like 3 months to qualify, and did really big PBs, went to age nationals and kind of entered in age nationals as like 54th, you know, ranking, and managed to come 6th. So it was like this really, really big like jump. And that I think was for me that inner feeling in myself of like, oh my gosh, like look how much I've improved over 3 months when I was really focused and really committed. Like imagine what I could do like now with this newfound confidence in myself that I could actually do it. So I really worked hard from 13 to 14 to get to the next age nationals. And that age nationals, I won 6 gold medals. And so it was like this huge career move. And that was the time when I thought like, that goal and dream of going to an Olympics, which was always this like far out vision, like when you're young and want to be an astronaut or something, and you just think it's like this make-believe thing in the future. That was the first time that I really thought I could actually like do it. Potentially. Like I just was more close that it was possible.
It felt within reach.
Like it wasn't such a far out dream anymore that I just saw, you know, other Susie O'Neill and Ian Thorpe doing on TV. Like I was like, I could be on the TV. That could be me.
So what is the process of actually making the Olympic team?
So it's all based on times, which I think is really great because there's no judging or other people's, you know, approval of you, which I have always loved the black and white kind of you made it or you didn't make it approach to swimming. But you have to go that specific qualifying time at the Olympic trials Australian meet. Like you can't just do it at any time in the year. It has to be at that particular meet, which is usually held anywhere from like 3 months before the Olympics. When I was competing, now it's more only like 6 weeks before the Olympics, so that they make sure they pick a team that's actually like physically ready for something in time, which is great because, you know, the Olympics is a once in a 4-year opportunity to race. And so you really need to train to be able to perform at one moment in time, not whenever you feel good or whenever things worked out for you, like, oh, my relationship's a bit, you know, at the moment, so I'll just put, you know, I'll try and do this later. Like you have to be able to block out everything and just no matter what else is going on around you in life, you have to be able to perform at one moment in time. And that's how they select the team. So that's how the Olympics work.
I was saying this to my fiance the other night. We were watching the tennis final, and I said, how do they not buckle under pressure? I can only imagine there must be a huge psychological component to your training to make sure that you can actually rise in that moment.
Definitely.
How do you manage not to choke?
Well, I think it's always a stepping stone. Like you're looking at the like Olympics or the, you know, Australian Open as like you right here, right now with your preparation going there. That it's just too much of a jump, if that makes sense. Whereas, you know, it's always the next step and the next step and the next step in terms of training, but also, you know, mental preparation and handling that nerve and whatever. So as I was progressing towards the Olympics, I had made, first of all, the Commonwealth Games team in Melbourne. And so that was my first international racing experience, but it was in Australia. So it was like still very comfortable. And then I made a World Championships team. So I had exposure racing like international athletes at big competitions with like lights and cameras, like having a camera in your face, you know, right before you perform. Like that was just all new to me. Whereas they tried to replicate those types of things at meets below so that you get used to it and you prepare for it so that when you do get to the Olympics, it's not so foreign. In saying that, you still can choke because you can't prepare for it at all. Like there's no real ability to perform, to prepare for what that's going to be like until you're actually there. So something that really worked for me, which I still implement now in like normal life, is visualizing. Because when you visualize yourself, like close your eyes and really see yourself in an environment, and you think of like, you try to engage as many senses as you can. So like, what do I see? What do I hear? What smells are there? What does it feel like? Am I standing on grass or, you know, bitumen? And you just try and put yourself in an energetic space and play out almost like a movie of yourself doing something. Your brain neurons fire in the exact same way as if you were actually doing it. So it's really powerful, so that when you actually go there, you're like, I've been here before. Like I sort of know what this is about, even though you haven't, you've just been there in your mind.
Yeah. You were saying before how you were quite a shy child. What was that like for you, sort of being thrust into this situation where there are cameras and the media are taking an interest not only in your swimming but your relationships and your personal life? Like, what was that like for you being thrust into the limelight?
So I think I was always really shy until I found swimming, and then swimming is what gave me confidence. But like now with hindsight, I can articulate it in such a way that it's like, I was still shy. I just was wrapped up in this like confidence of being good at something and getting praise and acknowledgement for that, which of course boosts your self-worth and self-confidence as an athlete, like as a kind of superhero version of myself. So I loved the attention and the cameras and the accolades and all of that. I really have always enjoyed that side of life. But then I think I didn't like it when it wasn't positive. And I realized after I finished swimming that now I don't have that like shield of my superhero outfit anymore, because I'm no longer swimming and I'm no longer achieving. And I kind of, not that I was shy, because I was still confident, but I was like very insecure as just a person without all of that validation. And that's really when I had to go to work on like personal development, because like externally I was really strong, but internally if I didn't, for example, self-worth, like I was in relationships, had a much lower self-worth of what I would tolerate or accept, But if it was about sport or career, I was like, oh no, I wouldn't accept that.
Yeah, right.
So it was just this real discord between like external and internal. And that's when I was like, got really, really invested into like Tony Robbins seminars and like personal help books and like spirituality and kinesiology and Reiki healing. I just tried everything to try to understand and build up this kind of like inner confidence.
Yeah, definitely. Before we talk more about that, why did you decide to retire at such a young age? I feel like 24, I mean, I am by no means an athlete, but to me, 24 is young. Like, why did you decide to walk away?
So 24 is young, but I think if you're to put it in perspective, like my athletic career started at 14. So it was a 10-year career of like very regimented discipline, routine, and structure. And as swimmers, we only really get 2 weeks off a year. Because swimming is all year round sport. There's not really like an on and off season. And so, and then keeping that in mind, swimming also works in a 4-year cycle. So like we had the Tokyo Olympics and then nothing happens for technically 4 years. I mean, lots of stuff happens, but nobody cares about the stuff that happens in between. In terms of like public media sponsors, it's all about Olympics, which as an athlete, you're also doing all those in between events to get to the Olympics, to perform at the Olympics. So the decision to retire at 24 was around a number of things. I was totally burnt out because the last year of my career was just an absolute shit show in terms of shoulder surgeries, shoulder injuries, dealing with all the media and the pressure, trying to perform at an Olympics when I was like so unprepared because I physically couldn't do what I knew I needed to do. And I needed to have time off after that to like repair my shoulder because I had like not technically, but broken my shoulder in January, but couldn't get it fixed until after the Olympics. So I had to train for like 8 months with like a torn tendon in my shoulder, which was just like so painful every day, and like couldn't do everything. And then I got sick and injured. You know, it just starts this like vicious downward spiral. So I knew I needed time off, and that's when I really reevaluated like, what am I doing moving forward? And it wasn't about doing another year. It had to be doing another 4 years because I wasn't going to finish on a non-Olympic year. And I was like, so I'm either going to be 24 or 28. There's no in between. And the events that I competed in that my body is naturally geared towards are not easy events to train for. Like they're the 2 hardest events for women to compete in at the Olympics. And so I just wasn't willing to do it again. And I thought at the time, like 24 is young, but it's still a good age. Like this is funny now in hindsight, but like at 28, I was like, oh, I'll probably be married and like have a kid. So that's like a good time to like meet somebody and like find a new career. Meanwhile, I'm like 33 and single, but totally fine. But it was just for me more like this would be a good age as a woman to kind of, you know, start a new path.
Yeah. And so what were those first few weeks, months, even years like after you retired? Like did you even know what to do with yourself?
No, but I loved that for the first bit because I didn't want to do anything. I just went completely in the opposite direction for about 2 years. Like I, you know, didn't have to eat like a specific plan at specific times anymore. So I was like, I can have popcorn at morning tea and like, you know, dessert at every meal of the day. Like it was just awesome to have that freedom. But then I took far too much advantage of it and like put on 10 kilos, and more than anything just didn't feel good in myself. Like I just felt not confident whatsoever, but also so tired and sluggish and mentally just very like cloudy and down. That then I really started assessing nutrition. And that's when I became plant-based, because I just started cutting out things I didn't like, and then really noticed people were able to eat a lot more food with a vegan lifestyle compared to having to like restrict everything, which was what I hated doing. And so I was super into that and just played around with it for probably a couple of years, trying to find like what would work for me and what would be maintainable. So yeah, and then I think probably like so that was like 24 when I retired, sort of 26, 27 when I like just went loose until then, and then 27 felt like better about myself, moved overseas, lived in America for a year, just to like, because now I was feeling better in myself, but I had no idea what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Everybody that would meet me was like, so what do you do now? And I was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I couldn't say I don't know. So I just made up, you know, a bit of this and a bit of that. And it sounds cute, but really that was like 5 days of the year. Those commitments, like I do some speaking, like 2 speaking events a year. Like, you know, it was just all a big facade, and I wanted to get away from it more for me, to just kind of like dive into, okay, what do I want to do? What am I passionate about? And that's when, personal development became like my focus for probably like 2 to 3 years, like personal development, health and wellness, holistic happiness, success principles, all of that. Just lived and breathed every type of event, book. Yeah. And tried to find clarity. I think that was what I was searching for, like clarity on like what now.
Yeah. You posted last year watching the Olympics about how you said that you felt lost, irrelevant, and depressed. And I think so many women especially would relate to that, even transitioning into motherhood. You lose a part of yourself. Yours was on a grand scale because you know, were an Olympian, and all of a sudden you're not. What was that loss of identity like, and how have you sort of rediscovered yourself, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, it was a really rough time, because I think more than anything, after I had finished swimming, like not right away, because it doesn't kick in right away. There's still stuff lingering for a while. There's still interest and work and opportunities. And then it kind of like dies. And that's really when everything, all the like fuzzy, nice stuff like falls away, and you're left like just kind of like, okay, is this it? I don't know, this can't be it. Like, and I definitely felt very irrelevant. And because I had said to you earlier around, like, I was always really shy, but swimming gave me this like superhero confidence and self-worth. It was kind of the combination of all of that then got stripped away, because I no longer was the swimmer. So I couldn't rely on that, but I had to address like the core problem, which was these childhood insecurities that, you know, just had been masked by all this you know, lights and cameras and awesome stuff. That's when that was really when personal development helped me a lot. And I was also just really open to trying anything and everything that might help. At the time that I was kind of going through all of this like confusion, I felt like nobody else got it and was going through it, because in part people were going through it, but maybe not to the level I was going through it.
Yeah, totally.
It's like, that's nice, but like you don't understand, because like I'm doing it at like this like peak level, and also this fake falseness of trying to put forward a good persona, because I'm still working in media and sponsorship. So like that part of myself, I was still trying to be like, woo, got it together.
Everything's great.
So awesome. And then like when I wasn't doing that, that's when the real shit kicked in. And that was, it was just such a discord between these two versions of myself. So I just was open to trying anything and everything. And some of the stuff I tried, I loved, and other stuff I was like, that's not for me. But finding out what I didn't like was just as beneficial as finding out what I did like. And I was doing that. This was all very much like, it was about self-worth, but it was also about this like identity and career. Like, what am I going to do now? Like, I'm only like 27, 28. Like there is another career here. Like,
yeah.
And I think it was harder to go through it as a single woman because I didn't have another place to like insert my energy or like escape to kind of just be like, oh, support my man or support this or so I was just really forced to like work on myself, and it was hard. I think all those aspects of transition are really hard, but so valuable. Like, it's when you really discover like those gems within yourself. And so rewatching the Olympics is always hard. Like, it's because in order to move on from that version of myself, you have to let go. Like, there's this, like, if you imagine like a trapeze, like when you have to let go of one trapeze in order to catch the next one. And that flying in limbo, not holding either trapeze, is awful. It's so bad. But I read about this trapeze thing, and they're like, no, there's always a safety net. Like, if you fall, there is always a safety net. And I was like, okay, like, trying really hard here, but how long? Nobody knows how long that limbo is. And I feel like for me, the limbo was like 3 or 4 years, which just was a long time. And so, I find it hard to watch swimming in general. I find it really hard to watch Olympics because you're reminded of a past life, like a past version of myself that I loved, but I also can never go back, like, ever. That will never happen again for me. Like, even if I tried to, it would not be the same. And even if I was like just tried to become like a support team member of the Olympic team, like, no, it's not going to be the same. And so it's just hard to be faced with that kind of like confrontation of, hey, that was a really big highlight time in your life, but hey, it's also like never going to happen again. Totally over. And you just have to like accept that. And I, watching Tokyo, had already done all of this work, like inner work. I actually was like, previous to watching the Olympics, like, I was like, I'm amazing, I'm doing so well, things are so great. And then it was just like, boom, again, of like, hey, look at all this stuff you can't have again. And you know, I spoke a lot to my girlfriends in swimming around like, God, it's hard to watch, like, and everybody had exactly the same feeling. Like, every past athlete says the same thing. And I was like, why is nobody like talking about this? Because if I knew that everybody else felt how I felt, I wouldn't feel so guilty for feeling this feeling, which is why I did the post, because I was like, I know there are other people feeling this way. And if I can just share it, knowing I am also like, okay, people that are in that thick of the darkness where they can't see the light, like, at least will know, okay, Steph got through it, and like, she seems to be doing well, and you know, all of that. And I was just totally blown away by the response I got, because I didn't really know it would have as much reach as it had. Like I said, like, women, you know, entering into motherhood or exiting a relationship or transitioning from a career, like, everybody felt the feelings of that transition. And it was just so nice to see and read the comments of everybody being open and sharing like together. That was just so nice. Like, that was such an empowering, heartwarming experience.
I can imagine also that a lot of people just would have been able to relate. Like, I certainly feel like life is never going to be the same from what it was pre-pandemic. So I feel like everyone is sort of mourning, you know, whether you've lost your job through the pandemic or, you know, everyone is sort of mourning the way life used to be. So I feel like there would have been that extra layer of people relating to it on that level.
Definitely. And some of the comments, like, in terms of, I just had never thought it would be relative to some people. Like, and I was just so blown away by people sort of being like, oh, you know, I am a laborer and like had to, you know, got forced to exit like during COVID and whatever. And I feel all these things. And I'm like, oh my God, like, wow. Like that is just nice to know that, not that there was any advice in there as such, just more like the understanding of like, okay, we all have felt this.
And sometimes you don't need advice. Sometimes it is just being able to, connect with someone and be able to empathize. And
it's nice to have a connection like that over social media, because I have such a love-hate relationship with social media, because, you know, brands and stuff talk about, you know, what engagement rate do you have and like all of this. And I'm like, engagement, like engagement is like connecting like with people, like actually engaging. And I miss all those in-person events and being able to genuinely connect with people like this, like actually engaged and actually connect. And I find social media to have this like false engagement, like and so I just it was so nice that through a vehicle of social media I had like a genuine, what I would say is engagement, and it was just really nice.
So what does life look like for you now? You said you're 33. What does it look like for you now that you're sort of on the other side of rediscovering yourself?
So business is something that I have always loved. I think business and sport are quite similar in terms of just the mindset and habits and routines that sort of emulate itself. Also, as an athlete, I like being in control of my own destiny and setting like calling the shots and being the leader. I hate being told what to do. Like, I would be the worst employee, like, because I just wouldn't be able to follow. I can follow orders because, like, obviously with a coach, I follow orders, but it's collaborative in the sense that you have this job and I have this job and we work together as a team. So, I love like business, entrepreneurship. Every day is a little bit different just because I run probably like 3 businesses. So have my media brand endorsement, space, which I love so much. Like I just have always felt so grateful to have a public voice and be able to partner with brands that I genuinely actually like or relate to, because they bring about opportunities like this. And I love this type of connection and ability to share. And that's also like speaking work and all of that kind of stuff. I have launched last year an online swimming education course. So it's basically like a how-to for aspiring Olympians. So like in particular, like boys and girls, like 14 that are like training well and have all the training stuff down, but really need to learn like all the mindset stuff around goal setting, visualizing, how to collaborate with your coach properly, like specify everything to swimming and performance. So that's something I'm really looking forward to, especially because I haven't wanted to do anything in swimming for like a really long time. So it's nice to be back involved in that way. And then I've also become an investor in an esports team. So I'm actually about to start streaming games for my esports team, which I'm like so excited about. So like I have like my streaming kind of table over here, which is not set up, but I'm just so looking forward to trying something totally new, because the idea for me to have a career that requires me to play games is like I've literally
is it called Twitch? Is that what it's called?
Twitch is a streaming platform. But that's just like social media. So like Twitch is like an Instagram of streaming. So like Facebook have a streaming, YouTube have a streaming, like there's multiple platforms to stream on. But people stream like ASMR. Have you heard of ASMR?
Yeah, I have.
I love a bit of ASMR. So people will stream like doing ASMR or like a workout or gaming is the most popular. Like
and so what do you play?
Well, I definitely love Sims.
Oh my God, I used to love Sims.
Oh my God, like you don't understand. I love Sims so much. And then I also really love like the Nintendo Switch games. So like the traditional like Mario Kart, like Crash Bandicoot, and Overcooked isn't one that I really, really love. And then I love also things like online Monopoly I've been playing a lot of. And it's just like, I love games. Like if there was like my ideal weekend is like my closest sort of like 6 girlfriends or friends, like playing board games.
I love that.
Like I wouldn't care if there was alcohol or no alcohol.
Yeah.
Snacks are required, but gaming, like playing games, board games is like my favorite thing to do.
I'm definitely going to tune in to you playing The Sims. We had COVID the other week. I was like, if I didn't have my 2-year-old, I would have spent this whole week playing Sims.
Yeah, I played it over the Christmas break. Yeah, it's so fun.
It is so good. So we're talking as well today about your brand new ambassadorship with F45. Obviously, like a huge brand. As an ex-athlete, I'm sure you have so many opportunities to partner with brands like this. What made F45 special?
Yeah, well, I think you answered it. Like, I love that they are a really huge brand. Like, everybody knows and has heard of F45.
Yeah.
I love that they're an Australian company that are like kicking huge goals on a global level. Like, and I think in terms of association, it's just such a great one for me. I said before, I love partnering with brands that I genuinely like stand for, value the same things, and genuinely use or do. And so F45 is one of those. Like I've done classes, you know, years ago when we were traveling pre-COVID. Yeah. I would always do F45 in like the local place that I was in for those few days, like whether it was New Zealand or LA or whatever. I would just sign up to like a local studio for the week, and loved it because I'm not going to work out in my hotel room and can't go to like a gym there. They don't give memberships and stuff. So F45 was just awesome for travel. And then, when they asked me to partner with them, it was like a huge honor because I love high intensity training. That's what I do myself. And so it's just been a thrill so far to be able to like promote the brand in a way, because I mean, even just throughout this interview, like I love health and wellness and holistic health. And so exercise is a huge part of that, as is like nutrition and mental well-being. They're things that I live and breathe every day, and like try to be the best version of myself by working on those things. And so F45, of course, is known for like the 45-minute high intense workouts, but also, you know, they place such a big emphasis on nutrition and like being a part of a community where everybody can support one another along their goals, and holding each other accountable as well. Like I've been in so many classes where I am dying, like I'm just so out of breath, and I look over and there's like a mum who's had a baby, she's like still going, and I'm like, I can't stop if she's still going. Like, come on, push yourself a bit harder. And I would never do that on my own. Like on your own, you can come up with a million reasons why you should just like, take a little bit extra break, or maybe I'll just do 3 sets instead of 4.
Slack off,
like it's just so easy. And so I love like being a part of my local studio and the community there. And I've rallied in so many friends to come with me as well, to just, it just holds you accountable. Like, and accountability is so important. If you don't have a reason to be held accountable for something, like you wouldn't go. And I found that when I was swimming, you know, I always had my coach that would hold me accountable. But if I traveled for like brand ambassador work and I was, say, in Melbourne for 3 days, my coach would just write me a training program for me to do at a local pool when I have time. Oh my God, never did any of those programs to their entirety. Like I did it, but instead of doing like 6 kilometers in the pool, I did like 3. And I was like, oh well, like, you know, like it's just
no one's gonna know. Yeah.
No, and so hard to push yourself on your own.
Yeah, definitely. So what makes the workouts particularly effective for women?
So I think it's effective for both men and women, but I think women are traditionally more scared of like weights or intimidated by gym and equipment and like, how do I use this, or what's the proper technique? So the good thing about F45 is it's functional. So you're kind of always doing like movement. So your heart rate is always like at like a pace walking level.
Yeah.
And I think it's so great for women to like lift some form of weights to just develop your like strength, not because it's so hard for you to get muscly. Like literally you would have to train 6 hours a day lifting like the heaviest weights you can to show like that kind of muscle.
Yeah.
Not just going to magically, just like how you don't wake up one day and like you've lost 10 kilos. You don't just like wake up a week later with like bulging biceps. Like it's not going to happen. And I think for women, F45 is so great because it does incorporate that like light weights to just develop tone, which is going to help speed up your metabolism, regulate your hormones. Like all of that exercise is so good for all of those things. And I think it's important to have a community for women to kind of feel a part of like a sisterhood. And I love that the classes and the local community offer that. And at the moment they're doing an 8-week challenge. So it just is like one of those New Year's resolutions, but with more structure.
Yeah.
So, you know, diet, like they give you nutritions and recipes and workouts and track everything for you. And I like all of that. And I think it's great for women to have that structure.
I think as well, having it sort of over and done within that 45 minutes and then you're done for the day.
That's what
really
I love.
as well.
And I can imagine, you know, seeing women in the studios that are obviously parents.
Yeah.
Like the studio I go to has a nursery playroom in there.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Like there's nobody necessarily in there. You could like bring a babysitter, but like it has a camera. So like you can do the workout and your like 3-year-old can just like play around. And of course you can like step out and check on them and step back in. But I think for women, time management and finding time is something that everybody is striving for. And I can imagine even more so as a mother. And so I think getting in, knowing your class starts at like 8 and it's done by 8:45 and you're home with the kids by 9, like that's what I like. I like in and out and it's done for the day and I don't have to worry about it anymore.
Yeah, definitely.
I also like not having to think about what I'm going to do for a workout.
Yeah,
like, I like just getting in there and they're like, this is what you're doing. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Especially good if you're someone like me who has no idea and cannot find their way around the gym.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, we're all about keeping life simpler and better for women. How do you do that for yourself?
That's a big question. I find that my work doesn't have structure like most people's jobs may have, like in terms of a time frame that you're at a location or working or not. And so for me, building in structure to my day is incredibly important. And I find that when I have like allocated times for tasks, that's when I'm most effective. And it's also when I feel most relaxed in a weird way, because I know I've allocated time to do that. So I don't need to therefore like stress about it or worry about it. I also try to bookend my day. And I think for women, it's really important to, which essentially means you start the day with a routine and end the day with a routine, so that you kind of like put your armor on in the morning and then you can take it off and wash it off and rest, and whatever happens in the middle of the day, you have no control over. And so it's important that you kind of at least have like a grounding in the morning and the evening. So for example, my morning, I like make my bed first thing and like have a shower, get my workout clothes on. And then I have a coffee. And while I'm having my coffee, I write down like 3 things I'm grateful for, 3 goals I want to accomplish. And I do 15 minutes of some type of like educational reading and put down like 3 points that I've learned from that like book at the time.
Yeah.
That takes me like 30 minutes to do. So not everyone's going to have 30 minutes or want to allocate 30 minutes. But for me, then when I start the day, whatever that looks like, I just feel like I've had a good morning and I've set good intentions and I've done like my work for myself. And then ending the day is like so simple for me. I often like turn the lights off, light a candle, put my like starry nightlight room lights on, have a shower, have a glass of water and get into bed. And like, it's just like a washing off the day. And wherever I am in the world, I do the same routine. And I make time for that. And I think that that's a really important note is some people think I don't have time for that. Everyone has the same amount of time. I think it's just choosing where you spend that time. Like if you're spending 2 hours a day watching TV, like that's fine, but that was your choice. And so it's just time for exercise, time to be outside. I think prioritizing your own health and well-being from a physical standpoint, but also a mental standpoint is so important because you take yourself into every task you do that day. And so if you're stressed, everything you do that day is going to have that undertone or that kind of current. And so I find it to be really important for me to have that morning routine because I start the day with this like positive energy. And sure, like shit happens in the day, of course, but I feel like how would I have been if I didn't have that preface in the morning?
Yeah. Well, Steph, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast this week. It was amazing chatting to you and hearing all about your life and your work and everything. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you for your time. I love doing these.
Thank you so much for listening to this bonus episode of It's All Her. If you have loved this episode, please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen. Share it with a friend, and I'll be back in your ears next week.